If you are naive enough to think that the pause to SNAP benefits on November 1st isn't going to affect you because you don't receive food stamps, I want you to hear this. About 1 in 8 Americans receive SNAP benefits. In fact, in Oklahoma, where I live, that's 1 in 6 people. So about 600,000 people in my state alone, Oklahoma, receive SNAP benefits. About 1 in 4 children in the U.S. receive SNAP benefits. But you're not one of those people, so you don't care, but hang with me. When those benefits go away, just about $9 billion in grocery spending vanishes. So you've got to be thinking about not just the grocery stores being able to stay open and pay their employees, but you have to think about the entire supply chain, trucks on the road, people who provide food to these grocery stores. $9 billion. Every dollar spent in SNAP benefits adds about $1.50 to $1.80 to the economy. So cutting those benefits isn't saving that dollar, it's taking away that $1.50 to your local economy. But you don't receive SNAP benefits, you don't work for a grocery store, you don't drive a truck, you don't give a shit. But when all of those things happen, the only way to combat that is to drastically increase the price of groceries. Grocery prices are already up over 3% in 2025 alone, which is almost an entire percentage higher than the average increase in grocery prices over the last 20 years. I thought they were supposed to go down day one though. So even if SNAP benefits only pause for 1 month, which by the way would be detrimental to all the people I mentioned before that you don't give a shit about, it will cost the economy roughly $13 to $14 billion in profit. And you can expect your grocery prices in just that 1 month to go up at least 1%. And states will stand to lose about $300 to $500 million in sales tax revenue. So even if you do not receive SNAP benefits, you never have, you never will, you do not want these to be paused on November 1st.
This morning I called my local DSS office and I asked them to confirm whether or not what I was hearing was true, knowing it was true, that SNAP benefits are not coming next month. And she said, yeah, no, you're right, they're not coming. I said, okay, well, I hadn't heard anything, confirming what I'm hearing. So I was just calling to check. And she said, you're not going to hear anything. And I said, well, why? And she said, well, your local DSS are trying to figure out what's going on, but the state DSS is not planning on telling anybody what's going on. They're not planning on letting the citizens know that they're not going to get their food stamps next month. She also said that this would likely go on into December, that we will likely not get December's SNAP benefits. So that's great. That's lovely. So I'm coming to TikTok in hopes that there is an answer here. I don't know what the answer could be. I don't know what the solution could be. I don't know if is it mutual aid? Is it mutual aid? Do we all need to come together and start pooling our money and help these families like myself, like my mother, like my grandmother, who don't have the money to replace those benefits, who don't have the income to replace those benefits? What do we do? Because there are children, there are elderly, there are disabled people who do not have the money. And I have 3 children. Baby. And I have to feed them. The last time I came on here and talked to you guys about the SNAP benefits, I was full on crashing out. I'm not crashing out this time. I'm scared, but I'm fucking angry. This time I'm angry. And I will not just sit here and mope and cry about it. I will not sit here and just panic and sit in the floor and scream and cry this time. This time we need a plan. We need something that we can do together to figure this out. If you know of any creators, any organizations that are pulling stuff together and are trying to figure out what's going on, help me.
Do you know why I'm not concerned about the SNAP benefits being cut off in November? Because the only thing that stands between the masses and the lives of the elites is the social contract in which the masses have food. It takes about 1 day for an entire civilization to completely cannibalize itself when that social contract of food being available is gone. The thing that keeps the elites up at night is you being hungry for 1 single day. Because that's the only barrier between them and you throughout history. It's a fact. They already fixed the WIC program and had it removed from being affected by this because it was the first thing to be losing its benefits, and they're now pulling money from the tariff revenue to supplement that income for single mothers with children. You know why? Because of the exact same reason it takes one day for someone who is hungry in masses to rip your head off. So don't worry about it too much. They're terrified of that, so it'll get resolved. Even if it's in the very last second and they get tons and tons and tons and tons of clicks over it and you get a bunch of anxiety from it, because that's what they're scared of, is you being hungry. So, hope that helps.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking on today's episode. I appreciate your support. In case you're new here, my name is Vanessa. Kindly consider subscribing. Today we are going to be talking about the reality. Millions of Americans are about to face hunger, all because of the new decision made by Donald Trump's administration to cut SNAP benefits, and that's the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or what most people call food stamps. So many families, especially low-income workers, single mothers, and the elderly, rely on this help to put food on the table. But starting this November, everything is gonna change. Those benefits are shrinking and the impact will be heartbreaking. So without taking much of your time, guys, let's break down what's really happening, who it will affect the most, and why even some Trump voters are regretting their choices. Let's watch all these clips that I've gathered for you guys. A credit belongs to all creators that you're going to be seeing on our screens. Let me know what you think on the comments. I'll be back with more commentary. Welcome.
Close the wallets. Close the wallets. You don't need to buy a turkey. You've had turkeys for the last how many years? You're good to skip a year. Black Friday hasn't Black Friday and I don't know how long. The deals suck. You don't need a new flat screen. You already got one from last year. Your kids have tablets. They have toys. They have electronics. They'll be good to miss out on 1 year. They'll be okay. Close the wallets. Cot boy. You know, we should be spending any money then. It makes no sense for, in response to the government taking food off people's tables, for us to then open our wallets and continue the economy as if nothing is wrong. It's time for a cot boy of the holiday season. The time of year where corporations make the most money. Yeah, shut it down. Close the wallets.
Have y'all heard about what's going on with the SNAP benefits? Well, if you hadn't, let me tell you real quick. As of November 1st, 2025, SNAP is enforcing expanded work/training requirements for able-bodied adults without dependents. If you're in that group, age 18 to 64, able to work, no dependents, children under a certain age, you must meet one of these requirements. You need to work for 80 hours per month, 20 hours a week, or participate in a training, education, job search, volunteer that counts for those hours. If you do not meet the work training requirement, your SNAP benefits can be limited to 3 months in a 3-year period under able-bodied adults. So this also changes who is exempt. Example, folks age 55 to 64, parents whose youngest child is 14 or older, veterans, homeless, and so forth. So basically, they're trying to get rid of the SNAP program. And another thing, this also has nothing to do with the shutdown. That's a whole nother separate situation that's going on. And currently what they're still saying is, come November 1st, there may not be any SNAP benefits available. So I don't know what to tell you. I'm just here to give you the latest.
Let's talk about SNAP benefits. In 2024, approximately 41.7 million people received SNAP benefits, which is 12% of the population. And even if you don't receive benefits, this should concern you. And let me tell you why. About 1 in 8 Americans actually use SNAP benefits, and 1 in 4 children benefit from SNAP benefits. And in my state of New Jersey alone, over 845,000 people receive SNAP benefits. And on November 1st, if these benefits stop, roughly about $9 billion in grocery revenue disappears. And so this affects the grocery stores being able to stay open, being able to pay their employees. Not only does it affect grocery stores, but it also affects truckers who deliver the groceries to the stores. It affects warehouses who store the groceries that have to be delivered by the truckers to the stores. And in case you didn't know, every $1 of SNAP benefits spent adds $1.80 to your local economy. So without these SNAP benefits, there's a reduction in the revenue to the economy. And that's not a savings, that's a deficit. But I get it. You don't get SNAP benefits, so you don't think it matters to you. But you should care, because that deficit has to be made up somewhere. And how they're going to make it up is they are going to drastically raise the price of groceries so that you and me will have to absorb that cost. Even though somebody said groceries were supposed to go down day one, but they never did. So if these SNAP benefits are paused, every month that they are is going to roughly cost about $13 billion in revenue. And states will lose a tremendous amount in sales tax revenue. So this is going to cost you and me. We don't want this.
All right, welcome back. Trump's government approved new limits to the SNAP program and cutting benefits for millions of Americans. This means that fewer people will qualify, and those who still qualify will receive less money for the groceries. But the idea behind this cut is to encourage people to work. And the funny thing is this: many people on SNAP already work full-time. They just don't earn enough to survive with the rising food prices, rent, and the bills. And I think people who are going to be affected by this are families who were already struggling, are now being pushed to the edge. First, single moms depending on food assistance to feed their kids. Second, elderly citizens who live on small pensions. The third is disabled people who can't work. Well, I don't know what the government is planning for these disabled people. And the fourth, even working class white Americans in rural areas who voted for Trump thinking he cared for them, they are now realizing the cuts hurt them, not the rich. Guys, we are talking about real hunger. Local food banks are already reporting longer lines. Grocery prices keep climbing, and with less SNAP support, some families might have to choose between paying the rent or eating dinner. Imagine these two things are like the basic needs we have to live in our everyday life. I mean, you're not going to choose to be homeless. And guys, hunger, it's something else that you cannot choose. So it's something very hard for many families to survive. I think how children could start going to school hungry again, something America has been fighting for decades to prevent. And remember, hunger doesn't just affect the stomach, it affects learning, mental health, and hope. How would you have the hope for the future? I mean, how would you have the hope for tomorrow and you don't have today? Oh God, this is really sad. That's why you see now on social media, you can already see videos for Trump supporters, especially in rural towns, crying and posting that they didn't expect this. They believed his campaign promises about helping real Americans, but didn't realize those same policies would strip their own benefits. This is not about race or politics anymore. It's about how misinformation and emotional voting can lead to national suffering. So what do you think may come next? Experts warn that by December, food insecurity will spike sharply across the country, and states will have to stretch limited resources to feed families. And the question remains, was this really worth it? Was cutting food aid to save money more important than keeping children from starving? I don't know, just tell me what you think on the comments. We are here just to share our thoughts and try to resolve such kind of challenges that always come and we face them unexpectedly. At the end of the day, hunger doesn't care who you voted for. America is learning the hard way that when leaders make heartless policies, everyone feels the pain. As we watch people struggling this November, let this be a wake-up call. Elections have consequences, and sometimes the price is paid in empty stomachs. If you trust in God, I always believe that God is our provider no matter what. Like, there is no limitations to God. Even if we suffer today, there is hope tomorrow. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more videos. Remember, all our videos are just made for education purpose only. It's your girl Vanessa. Let's catch up in the next. Bye.